Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I have Darwin's Journey here that's going to be coming to Kickstarter. As you might know, I'm a travel nurse, so I move all the time. So today I'm in my parents' dining room area, so that's why you can see the background, but we'll make it do. And as you know also probably, because usually I have a script and usually I don't kind of do my videos live. But today I'm gonna give it a try, talk about Darwin's Journey. Today we're talking about the two-player of the game. And so let's get right into it. I'm gonna assume that you know how to play or you've watched my other video about kind of how the game is. This one is just gonna focus about the two-player since these times a lot of people probably can't get to their game groups or whatever, and you're probably going to be playing this at home and wondering how good is the game as a two-player game. The game is for 1 to 4 players. I don't know too much about the solo variant or anything about that, so I'm not going to be covering any of that. But two-player, I've played the most with this game so far. So that's what we're going to get into. So first of all, with the setup, when you're setting up the game, it's a little bit different for two players. So it has that player scalability where it works differently with the number of players, and I think it works great. So first of all, when you start setting up, you're going to be placing your repertoires out on the islands. These are the Galapagos Islands. And so on certain spots, as you can see, it says 3+3+4. You're not going to put those on those areas. So you have less of the repertoires placed out on the islands or where the boat goes as well. You have less of those, and the leftovers in a two-player game, there's 6 of them. You're gonna automatically start with those here in the museum so that when you visit the museum, it's not gonna be blank. So it's gonna be better to move on the theory of evolution track here because there are some of these placed in the museum. So that changes it to make it a little better with a two-player, because if it was the same and none in here, you would get more coins at the beginning, but at the end of the game, you're not gonna be scoring too many points due to the 2 plus how many rows are completed times wherever you're on the track. So the way that they do it like this, you're going to be able to score more points through the main, this is the main way to get points at the end of the game probably. And in a two-player, it's going to be easier to do that with this type of setup. At the beginning of the game, you're going to be drafting cards. And in a two-player, they say just to get all these cards here, and you're going to deal out 4 to each player. So randomly, we have 8 cards of the 16, potentially more in the Kickstarter. But this can be a problem, I think, in a two-player, but there is an easy fix for it as well. So what you're gonna do is be drafting cards, which is a huge way to set your strategy at the beginning of the game, no matter how many players you have. Because first of all, you're trying to gain whatever is listed down here, but also to be able to go to some of these locations, some of the special locations after they're unlocked. You're gonna have to have certain color of these seals to go there as well. And so you kind of wanna see which ones you wanna go to and maybe try to overlap with one of your crew members so that you can be working on your crew, but also be able to open up one of those areas to be able to go to. These other ones to unlock are all pretty straightforward with just having more of that one color, which is another possible strategy as well, but these are the harder ones to try to get. So for example, in most of my plays, it's been the hardest to focus on this, and I think that's kind of something we're missing out on the game, is there can be a lot more with these special actions. And so I would recommend actually going through each of these at the beginning of the game and letting everyone know what they do, because we kind of started and then in the middle of the game we're like, oh, what does this do again? And we probably would have used these actions a lot more. So especially this one right here, this is one of my favorites that I found out, but you need 2 yellow and 2 red to go there. Cost 6 to activate, to open up, because it's such a good action, which is to take one of these personal objective tiles, and you don't have to fulfill it. You just act as if you did fulfill it and place it on your player board. And that can be hugely powerful because you can unlock whatever one of these bonuses that you want or need to be able to do whatever you're trying to do by just going here. So you might be looking for a crew member that has that yellow and red or something close to it, which none of these do. Let's see if any of these do. Well, this is the closest with one of each, so none of them really do it. But here's the problem, potential problem with a two-player game. This player has 2 greens, a red, and a blue to start drafting with, not knowing that this player has 2 greens, a blue, and a yellow. So looking at all the cards, and of course when you're doing this, the players don't know, but there's only one yellow, so only one player is going to get a yellow. So let's say that goes to this player. There's only one red. Let's say they don't know that, but they're thinking there's only one blue, so they'll take the blue. They shift this over. They both now kind of know there's a lot of greens, so this player already took a blue, so they're thinking, dang it, I took the wrong one. They might take one of these greens. They know that they should take this red, switch them back. They're stuck with a green. They're gonna take a blue, switch back. So with 4 of these randomly drawn out cards that are green, it makes it a little hard for some of the players to have kind of equal. So this one lucked out. He got one of each, and then he's gonna toss one and start with the 3. This player, you know, has 3 greens and one of the blues, so they're gonna toss out, that one's good, they're gonna toss out one of these, you know, start with this, which isn't as great as this player. They have more flexibility. This one's kind of stuck. You do have a player that has the purple seal that can go anywhere, so they can easily go to this red area, put another seal on here. It's not a huge thing. I just feel like it's hard to kind of set the game up not knowing what colors are going to be in just those 8 cards. Now in a 4-player game, you have 4 of each, and so when you put them around, there's equal opportunity for each. So the simple fix would possibly be to look at these cards and decide which ones that you and everyone in the game want to start out with. So say you decide in a 2-player game you want to have 2 of each color so that it's kind of equal playing field almost. But the draft is still gonna maybe affect it a little bit. Maybe a player will take 2 of the same color to just make sure the other player doesn't get it. You know, the draft is still kind of a huge way to set the game and the strategy for what you're going for. But that is what happens in a 2-player game, is you're just randomly going to pull out 8 of these cards, and who knows what they are, who knows if you'll like them or not. The fix is to come in here and decide which 8 you want to do, shuffle them up, and then give them to each player, and then draft. So now we're set up, 2-player game, and the biggest thing for a 2-player game is each of these diaries here are not going to have this red bookmark. And so if a player places their worker here and takes this action, which is exploring here, then the other player, if they want to do the blue or the blue or the green action, then they're going to have to pay 3 coins. 3 coins for a 2-player game, and in the 3 or 4-player game, these bookmarks separate these to be a different area, so you don't have to pay the coins if you go to this blue area, but you will if you visit the green area. And in the 3 to 4-player game, you're paying 2 coins. So in a 2-player game, you are paying 3 coins, which is a lot because the money is really tight, and you are kind of playing these different diaries. So if, you know, they start there, well, then I'm already gonna know that even though I might want to go there eventually, if I go here and pay the coins, he's just gonna come and get his free action over on this diary without paying coins. So I'm gonna want to take a certain action probably on a different diary. And so with a 2-player game, it works. There's no problem with it, but that's how it works. And it's sometimes frustrating because of the money issue. Money is really hard at times. And at times you might, I've found that I had a lot of money at times, so I didn't worry about it until the end of the game when I needed money and I used it all. So money is always going to be tight. And there's not a whole lot of ways to get it. You can upgrade your workers so that when you go here, you get some as a silver. The end of round bonus here, you get some when you get your personal objectives, take more, or when you take first player. And also on the board, of course. This 5 is huge. Even this first one here at the very beginning of the game is always taken by some player because it's 4 coins at the very beginning of the game. So in a 2-player game, another difference, sorry I'm just blabbing on and this is just how the video is going to be. These workers here, we kind of leapfrog each other. So if you had more players, there would be more leapfrogging over each other to get certain actions. In a 2-player, sometimes a player might be way in front and then neither player will be leapfrogging. And so you don't get as far in these islands as you would if you had more players, because you would have more potential people on here to leapfrog. So if this guy had 2, 1, leapfrog, I could go here or here, and that's a huge jump from this first spot all the way up here. And so with more players, you're going to be able to get later, further on these islands, which eventually actually give you more points. So that's the big thing. And with more players, you're gonna more players are gonna get certain actions and everything. But in a 2-player game, you might just be taking your 1-2, not leapfrogging. Although sometimes you'll be each leapfrogging and moving at the same time. What is nice in this game is if there is a runaway on this first island, we'll say, when your boat crosses here and you place your here, you get a second chance at going at this island, and you get a third chance at going at this island. So even though you might not be ahead in this one and you feel like you're losing the race, well, you got a different race to play, and you got a third race to play, and then they're all playing at the same time. So I love that, and that would be great for any player count, really. So that's the leapfrogging. That's how a 2-player works. It works. You're just not going to get to the end of the islands to get the big mega bonus type stuff. You will also not be able to get many of the repertoires out here on the islands as if you had more players, because it would be more competitive, which means at the end of the game, there's going to be less of the repertoires placed out on the museum here. So if there's less rows filled, then players are going to score less. And so it's still important to get these points. I feel like every time I've played, really, whoever's been the furthest has won. Not necessarily just that's how it is all the time, but that's just how important it is to do semi-decent on this track. So in a 2-player game, you're not going to get as far on the track, probably, and you're not going to get as many points because the museum probably is not going to be as full as in a 3 or 4-player game. So to go back, when like last time I played this, I got to the 8 here, and the other player was down at the 5. So it actually was a huge gap of scoring points, because it was, let's see, that's 3 times, and I had a multiplier, so I was actually at 9, so 5, so 4, so 12 points, which doesn't sound a huge amount, but 12 points is a lot. So that's the museum and how it works with 2-player. Again, it still works, it's just going to work differently. The objectives, so let's talk about the objectives. I feel like actually in a 2-player game you have more opportunity to get the objectives that you want. So it's easier to do the personal objectives, where in a 3 or 4-player, there's going to be more competition to get certain tiles, and it's going to be harder to be able to score them. So that's I feel like a better thing for a 2-player game. It's easier, especially as you get further in the game, to be able to score those objective tiles to get these bonuses to help you. And if you play it correctly and it's a part of your strategy, it can really help. So that's the personal objectives. And then player order. So we haven't really had a big problem. No one really fights over it in a 2-player game. I can see how going, third or fourth in with a 3 or 4-player game, how that can be very detrimental depending on where you want to go, because you're very limited. But in a 2-player game, you're still getting the second choice, which is probably the second diary that they didn't choose, or this diary kind of could be used a lot. So it doesn't seem as important to get first player in a 2-player game. I would say in a 3 or 4-player game, you don't want to be last because it closes you down, so therefore it's going to be more important. In a 2-player game, we kind of used it more to just get coins, and because there was nowhere else that we could go because we didn't have coins to visit the other diaries, we couldn't go to the museum because we didn't find anything yet. We didn't want to do this action to put some more on our board because the objectives down here didn't really care for them. So we kind of used it like that. But again, this game is very good because your strategy is going to change every single time, because all of these tiles are different. So there's 5 objectives down here, and there's all these ones that'll change. So it's going to be different every single time. These are just types of repertoires on your board that you're going to get to score points, which is going to set your strategy. For example, with this one being first, well, I want to go to the blue action first so I can move twice so that I can, find this bird, put it on my board here. Let's see, what's a yellow bird? And then when I can go to the museum, and that's going to score me 6 points at the end of the first round. Where's our guys? Oh, if we're here, the first move is an animal type, and so racing for a certain objective is definitely going to change what you're going to be doing in the game, because I see that right off the bat. That's what I want to do first. So then there's different color seals that you want to collect and have on your player board for your crew. This is tents, stamps. You get your stamps off the board. This is adding lenses to the board, opening up some of these spots. This is having certain personal objectives completed. Here's another color. Then these go with that. Yeah, okay, that's all of them right there. So that's all the objectives, which is going to change every time. These also are going to change. So this is the correspondence action, and again, in the game, money is very important, and this is definitely going to change the game. In fact, last time I played, I purposely put this money one out because money is so tight. I felt like we needed a way to get money, because if you had these other ones, say you had that's going to get you points, but you're still going to not have money. That's going to give you more seals. This is going to move you on this track better, which is, I've never played with this one, but I can see that being great, getting further down. And this one kind of is that money, but also helps you be more flexible with some of your players. And again, the third thing, these are all different. Again, I would read all these, but there are plenty of other ones, and no matter your player count, this is going to totally change the game to figure out what you want to do. So make sure you know these actions and do them. The first game, I don't think we ever used them. The second game, we figured out that we were missing out on a lot of stuff here. And the strategy, again, is matching these seals with your players, with your crew cards, to kind of do a double whammy, do the same thing for 2 things. Open up a spot, but also finish a crew card. And I think the last thing I want to talk about is just opening up spots. So with more players, so you're going to visit this spot here. And it's kind of hard because, if you come to this one and when someone else is already there, you're going to have to pay the fee. But in a 3 to 4 player game, you're going to have more people that are going to do these actions and open up more spots. In a 2 player game, you're probably just going to have one each round because the money's so tight. It's hard to place a second one here. So at the end of the game, not all of these are going to be unlocked like maybe in a 3 to 4 player game. So, which still works because in a 2 player game, you have less workers, and in a 3 and 4, you have more workers, so you need more spots open. So that actually works once I think about it, but just know that you're not going to be having everything available in a 2 player game. So that's it. I'm sorry I've been rambling on. I don't usually do my videos like this, but I thought it would be great to talk about the 2 player style in this game so that you know if it's something that you're gonna like, something that you can get to your table if you're playing 2 players at home. It works great. It's just gonna work different. I loved it at 2 player, and I hope to continue learning how it does play at 2 player. Now, if you have any questions about how the game plays with 2 player or more, go ahead and comment on this video. I'll be able to see those and be able to respond to them of what I think from this game, from my plays that I've seen. But again, perfect 2 player game, even better 3 or 4 player game. But for me, I'm probably gonna play mostly at a 2 player game just because it's usually me and my wife. But I would love to play more of it with an additional player count. But I hope this helps you know if this is possibly going to be your first game of 2021. For me, it's definitely on my list. It's definitely something that I enjoy, something I want, and that's why I wanted to do a little video and let you know how it plays in 2 player. So again, Darwin's Journey by Thundergryph Games. It comes out January 5th of 2021. Go ahead and check out more of the stuff if you think it's for you, and I hope you like this video.
Again, this is Boardgame Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.